What?
And I'm going to give you one opportunity because we're friends.
Winner!
Yeah, F him. They went from loving this guy, best move ever, to hating him.
There's nowhere for him to go. I think there's one place.
You can't do that in the national team.
Do you even know what you're talking about?
Successful and sexy? No. It wasn't aggravating at times? Yes.
Sorry,
That's not very fair.
It's not about being fair.
Welcome to the greatest soccer show ever.
All Man United fans live in the past.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to We Are Soccer. Oh my word. Another fun-filled weekend of soccer. Big matches in every league. Thank goodness the international break is over. It wasn't as much fun as we thought it was going to be. Nobody thought it was going to be fun. It wasn't fun. No, it was not fun. This is what we've all been looking for. Domestic leagues getting back to it. Listen, these are the games that matter. These are the games that really are what intrigue us the most. I mean, Arsenal winning again. City cruising over Leeds. Man United, not so much. And then, because of some of the results, we've got managerial changes. Potter out at Chelsea, if you hadn't heard. Rodgers out at Leicester City. Two different reasons why those two are out. Today, we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about some of the big results from over the weekend, the EPL, MLS, Bundesliga, La Liga, you name it, we're talking about it. There's also a piece that Eric Winalda put into The Guardian in England, bashing U.S. soccer, bashing or telling the truth, and it's actually true, but people don't like the truth, so they call it bashing. We're talking about it. I like the article. You'll have to let us know your thoughts there. There's a lot of other stuff coming up. We've got a ton of soccer. Why don't I introduce you to the boys at the kids' table? But we've got a guest joining us today. Nate is out doing family things. Please welcome Mr. Jeff Shook. Jeff, how are you, buddy? Welcome to We Are Soccer.
I am great.
Yep.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's been fun watching you guys from home on Sunday nights, and a pleasure to be here live.
Oh, love it, man. Love it.
Man, how nice is that? And he flipped the Man United hat. Craig was happy about that one, that's for
anytime
sure.
we get to take something Man United off that desk and throw it or flip it,
I know.
I'm on board.
I know. Good. No, we're happy to have you here, Shooky, a knowledgeable person here. A lot of soccer and ODP and everything else you've done throughout the game. So this will be a fun one for our viewers that don't know Jeff Shook. So it's going to be an interesting time talking about Arsenal in the EPL, the Bundesliga, La Liga, some MLS. And so then for me, my weekend, pretty good weekend. Scouting some games today, and then nothing yesterday. Had to work on scouting reports yesterday, but
Sounds boring.
Yeah, when you fall behind on stuff, it's a lot of looking back in your notes and trying to figure out the chicken scratch you wrote, and then forming sentences for everything to make sure it sounds good. So other than that, my weekend has been good. 4-day work week this week, so I'm looking forward to that. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Good Friday coming up this week. All right, my weekend was awesome. Let me just adjust the mic here because it started out with a 2-0 Aston Villa win. That makes every week.
Claps for you.
Yeah, what can I say? Villa played well. They played a very poor Chelsea team. Thank you, Graham Potter, for setting them up that way. Someone's going to have to explain to me why you paid £90 million for Mudryk. The guy was terrible. Good Lord. But thank you for doing that. I don't know what he was doing on that breakaway, rolled it into the arms of Martinez, who was laying on the ground. My weekend was good because of that. But man, there's so many good games yesterday. The Bayern Borussia Dortmund game with Tuchel there, and the mistakes. The Bayern goal, the Borussia Dortmund goal is making. Oh my God! I mean, and then the Arsenal game against Leeds, that had some nice undertones to it. Then we had City play. Oh my gosh! I don't even know where to start. Shook, Mr. Jeff Shook, what do you think we should start out with? You want to start out with that Arsenal game?
I think we can start with the Villa game. I'm a big Emi Martinez fan.
Oh, yes, he is.
Well,
He's mentioned
all right,
that.
Well, obviously people are like, well, wait a minute, how come? Well, Martinez came from Arsenal.
Was there for a long, long time, and I thought he was a deserved number one, and we actually got lucky to get rid of Leno after him and end up with Ramsdale.
Yeah, I think that Ramsdale signing was a brilliant signing, by the way. For me, Ramsdale is should be the number one England goalie for the next 10 to 12 years. He is that good, in my opinion.
I think he does really, really well when the odds are against him. He seems to struggle when they're the favorite. He gives up some soft goals, up 2 or 3 goals.
Okay.
But when critical time, 0-0 or down a goal, he was down a goal to Brentford and an amazing save to keep it 0-1 and then to spur the comeback. So he's got great moments, but he's still young. We'll see. I think 10 to 12 that's an eternity for a goalkeeper to be at the national team. That's like Casillas numbers.
It is. But yes, most people might not know, but Aston Villa did get Martinez from Arsenal. God knows why the Arsenal higher-ups thought that Leno was going to be the better keeper there. But it also comes down to maybe Martinez wanted to leave. Maybe he was asking to leave in the background and said, I've been deserving, and if someone comes in at a certain price, I want out. And Villa came in at $25 million for the number one goalkeeper, and now World Cup winning goalkeeper, has really done us well. But listen, the Chelsea situation, it's not been very good. I don't know why everybody thought that Graham Potter going to Chelsea was going to be a good thing. I want to read something here, and it's a couple of months back. It must have been in September, August, September, when he was appointed. The three of us, not you, Jeff, Nate, Brooks, and myself said, listen, this is not going to end well because he is not a good manager. Graham Potter, 31 games in charge at Chelsea officially for 7 months. 12 wins, 11 losses, 8 draws. A 38.7 win percentage. Now everybody goes, wait, that's a horrible win percentage. How would you ever, no wonder he got fired. No wonder he was fired. He only won 38% of the games. Well, while he was at Brighton Hove Albion, he had a 31% winning percentage. He won 31% of his games while he was at Brighton. And he was in charge for 135 matches. He won 42 games out of 135. Yet, Chelsea thought he was good enough, and they went and paid £25 million to sign him and gave him a $12 million a year contract for 4 years, 5 years. I think it was 5 years, actually. So the payoff here for Mr. Graham Potter, I have no idea what in the contract is written, but he's getting a lot of money to go away at this point. I do not know why Chelsea felt that he was going to be the man, because he had one good season at Brighton, and that's about it. Other than that, he was poor. He's been at Swansea, and he was poor there. So, you know what, Brighton? You get what you pay for, and you paid for crap, and that's what you got. Chelsea now have a big opening there with a lot of big players. Any thoughts on who we think could fill that role, boys?
It's a tough position. I'm not sure with the team makeup they have, anybody wants it. They've had unlimited spending and got a bunch of queen bees and no worker bees. So it's a tough squad to manage.
And they're without a real striker, to be honest. They're missing a true 9 there. Lukaku is still their player, but he's on loan over at Inter.
Doing well.
Whether he wants to come back is going to be.
He should not. He needs to stay in Italy. Like, don't come back. It's ridiculous. We've tried this many times. It hasn't worked. Just
stay in Italy.
Move on.
For the better
It's
of your
time
career.
to part ways, break the marriage. It's time.
There are a lot of big names available right now. So you've got Conte, who was fired recently at Spurs. Rodgers, who was just fired at Leicester. Pochettino, who's still looking for a job. Nagelsmann, who was fired the other week at Bayern. Jesse Marsch is out there. I don't think that's a realistic name, but he's out there. I personally think that Pochettino and Nagelsmann are the two favorites, and I think Pochettino could end up taking that job because I think he likes London, and it's a lot of money and a big job, big role.
Yeah. Hear me on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Interim coach for the last 8 games. Diego Simeone out of Atletico to Chelsea.
Oh, I was thinking Diego as well. I think that's a good call by Shook right
His
there.
mentality
Yeah.
to come in there, a little bit of some vinegar, and his time at Atletico's. I mean,
It's coming to an end.
Coming to
Coming
an
to an
end.
end.
Yeah.
And they probably wouldn't mind getting out of the contract he's on right now with just under
30 million a year.
I know.
Yes,
30
the highest
million.
paid manager in football, soccer around the world. So you're right there. You know what, Shooky? That's a great call.
Yeah.
That had not crossed my mind. I can see that happening. I can absolutely see that. The only issue is the games they have left in the season, right? It does look bad that they have so many games left in the season, 8 to 10, whatever it is. But that's a great call. I can see that happening because they want a big name and they want someone who's going to come in and has proven they can do the job. And Diego Simeone has proven he can do that job. Do a job like that at a place like Chelsea with a lot of money. So that is a great call, my friend. If we got anybody online who wants to comment, what do they think? I mean, I like the Simeone shout. I think Pochettino could be up for it. I think he's waited for a big job like this. When I say big job with a lot of money involved.
Yeah,
That seems to be his thing.
David Poole says it'll be Nagelsmann. That's what he feels. But we've had our concerns about, is he too young? Has he really done too much, honestly? I mean, he had a few good seasons. Has he had, on numerous consistent seasons where he's been good? Probably not yet, so, yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't see Nagelsmann going there personally. I think he's come out of the Leipzig system, and I think he was groomed up to that, and then all of a sudden he went to Bayern, and I think he's shown that at Bayern he can't control egos. The senior level players at Bayern were eye-rolling whenever he was talking. They were walking away without paying attention. That is something that surely executives around the world have paid attention to. I do not think Nagelsmann is up for a job that, and I don't know, this actually might be a bigger job than the Bayern Munich job. So I don't think Nagelsmann is a good candidate at all. I think that would, to be honest, for our show, I think that would be great because it would be a lot more content for us to cover. I think it would be great. It would be one dumpster fire to another, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But he for some reason he's one of the leading favorites right now, right? Nagelsmann, I think.
Yeah, I mean, because he's a name, right? He's a name. He got fired from a big club.
And he's available.
He's available.
And he's available. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, does someone from, like, a Sporting Lisbon or maybe, like, a manager at Celtic or Rangers, someone that's done well, in the Scottish Premier League with those two teams, or, someone from some out of, like a mid-table La Liga team that's over-exceeded expectations that's done well. Like, that's always the tough part. There's so many clubs around the world, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't know if Chelsea, they have the money to hire people away, but, they can definitely pay that contract with Simeone at Atletico Madrid. Why can't they pay someone, somewhere else, That's always wonder.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I don't know, for me I'd rather sometimes don't take the name that's sitting there on the sideline, maybe take someone that's kind of been fresh and still coaching. But the guy on the sidelines had time to really assess and analyze the team if they really think they want that job too, because I'm sure their agent's talking to the team.
One of the big issues that Chelsea now faces, they are most likely going to miss out on Champions League.
Yeah.
And you are going to miss out on players in the summer because players want to go and play Champions League. And you're probably going to miss out on a manager or two who you could have hired because they want to go and manage in the Champions League, right? I don't think Simeone will give two rats about that personally. I think he'll take the money and he'll take the job if he's offered it. And I think that Shooky is a great call for that. Yep.
Danny Price, Brendan Rodgers to Chelsea?
I don't see that happening. I think because of his time at Liverpool, which was a big club, comparable, not Leicester's not a big job. Leicester's not a big job compared to Liverpool, and I think the Chelsea job is actually a little bit bigger than Liverpool at this point with the situation they're in and the new owners and the amount of money they've put in. I think that would be a fail, but yeah, I've heard that rumor, but that's just because they're both, today now available. Rodgers now available after being sacked today with Potter. Bad day for ex-Swansea managers, by the way. But yeah, it's I don't see the Rodgers one happening. Danny Price, interesting shout there. I'm actually, after thinking about it, more and more on board with Shooky's call about Simeone here, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy. He's not gonna take any BS. He's gonna have a plan. he's going to be like, you're doing this. If not, like, you're not going to play. You're gone. I think Graham Potter, I feel like we've talked about, wasn't a well-established enough coach to take the reins, and they weren't going to give him the reins to say, hey, we're doing this. But if you bring in Simeone, he's probably, I'm sure part of his stuff will be, you're bringing me in, you're giving me the reins, like no one else is bringing in players but me, and I'm going to also get rid of players that I don't think are of the caliber. So, if Simeone comes in, Mason Mount and Pulisic are out the door already. Interesting to see who they bring in, or who he deals away. Because honestly, there were a lot of rumors that Pulisic to Atletico Madrid was an interesting consideration. But obviously, Simeone was out the door as well there, so it was going to be.
I've never really fully bought into that, but it is what it is. It'll be interesting to see how fast Pulisic and Mount exit Chelsea, depending on who they bring in, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be depending on who they bring in as that manager.
It's kind of sad. Like, they're not bad players. It just really got stupid with bringing in all these top players. It was like there was no plan. It was like, let's throw a dart at the dartboard, and where it lands, that's who we're going to take. And we're gonna throw another dart. We're going to be like, this is how much you're worth.
Arsenal were in for Mudryk, right?
Yeah.
They were reportedly in and bidding for him, right?
Maybe it was a big game of poker. And they called Chelsea's bluff and got Trossard and they got the ace up the sleeve.
Yeah.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, and based on the transfers that Arteta has had recently, I'm going to go with yes on that, because the Trossard, I believe, has 7 assists in the last 8 games.
Yeah.
Dude's
He's
on
been
fire.
good.
Yeah, he's been real good. Coming off the bench a couple times.
It's the small pickups of the players that aren't necessarily the stars that contribute are the ones that make or break your season.
Yeah,
And he's fit a role.
Yes.
He didn't come in there and demand the spotlight. He's come in there and just given the ball to guys who have put it away.
Yeah.
Right.
And they needed a midfielder. I mean, they needed some depth, and they need, a guy to come in every once in a while. And if the guys get hurt, you need an experienced guy to come in, and that's the name of the game. And the craziness of that's why I love Arsenal, and what they've done is they are on the comeback, but they've done it in a very it's not a unique way, but they've done it in a very thoughtful way. They have not overspent on a lot of players. They found players that are quality. Maybe some are getting towards the end of their career, but they're squeezing the juice out of some to get what they can out of them. And they're not just being, like Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham, just going after guys like, oh, he's been good. Like, well, how does he fit? Like, that's the problem with these clubs that throw money around. It's like, how does he fit into what you do? And is he going to bring down the team with a guy coming in? Like, it's just... That's the thing with Chelsea. It's like there's so much craziness there in that locker room. I don't know how any of those guys get along. They probably all have their own huge-ass lockers, and they just probably, no one talks to each other, and I don't know.
Yeah, they sum up the Frankenstein team.
Yeah.
All these parts and not sure how they fit together.
Exactly.
It's maybe we'll dive into that in a little bit. Putting a team together, building an actual team. I mean, it's an interesting.
You start with the goalkeeper, Craig, not the forward.
I don't know. I mean, all right. 10, 20 years ago, you'd always start with a forward, right? But nowadays,
or the center back.
Actually, you might be right there, Brooks.
Mm-hmm. Or defensive mid.
And no N'Golo Kante for Chelsea's.
Yes.
An unfillable hole.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And he made his way back yesterday. One pickup I'd like to talk about for Arsenal. The Jorginho picking up Jorginho along with Trossard, and everybody thought, this guy's washed up. He's not going to be able to do it. It's what kind of a pickup is this? And dude comes in and fills a hole there, and is playing very well. Now, is he a world beater of a player? No, he's not a world beater. Is he going to go score you the winning goal? Maybe once every 10, 20, 30, once a season, twice a season at the most, but he's going to connect everything. He's really going to hold that locker room together. I think
got a nasty streak in him, so when you need someone to play nasty at times,
He absolutely does. But one of the things I like that he does, he's won before. He's a little bit of an elder statesman, just like Trossard, and he can take those young kids, because Arsenal's super young, and he can take them and hold them together, and he can really say, no, everybody come back in. All right, let's bring it back together, calm down. It's one draw, one loss. Continue on. Work hard.
Yep.
Thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree. That's the team is so young. Take away Partey at 30, and the rest of the team is young 20s.
Granite Jock, obviously.
Yeah,
But
and you're at a real risk of hitting a bad streak with the number of games. They've been fortunate to be out of some of the other cup competitions so that they've got time in between these matches. Number one, to physically rest up, but then emotionally after a bad run of form to find themselves again. And you need those older players who have been there to steady the locker room.
Been there, done it.
Yes.
Right, absolutely. I feel that is wholly underrated a lot of the time these days, the leadership on a field, right? I just had a conversation with a young man who didn't rate Tyrone Mings for Aston Villa, and I said, I get it. I absolutely get it. He makes a bonehead mistake every third or fourth game, and a ball goes in the net. But when things get really tough, he's the guy who's leading the line.
Yes.
When there's a ball that's whipped in the last minute of the game that needs to be headed out, he's the first one there to head that ball and put his body on the line. Tyrone Mings is leadership to a core. And I think that's what Jorginho and I think Trossard bring to Arsenal. Because not that Arsenal were lacking that, but they did have someone who was a leader in Granit Xhaka who could lose his cool occasionally.
He's gotten better, though.
And absolutely. He's really calmed down and matured. But I think having another guy or two around him, like Jorginho or Trossard, the elder statesman we'll call him now, who are, 27, 28 or whatever they are. I mean, it's nutty to say that. Can cool him down and say, listen, no, we're good. Let's go. Because one of the best signings that I think Arsenal have had in the past 2 or 3 years was just holding on to Emile Smith-Rowe. I think, and it's unfortunate he's had some injuries this year, but I think he is one for the next 2, 3, 4 years that is just going to grow, and he is going to be a stud. Aston Villa tried to sign him. I've heard the number of $50 million. Is what they offered for him.
Wow.
And he actually said no, and Arsenal said, we're just going to offer you a brand new contract and improved terms. I like Emile Smith-Rowe. I think he's a good player, but he's just had some injury problems the last 2 years.
No, I loved him when he came on the scene two and a half years ago, and was really carrying in midfield when Arsenal was playing poorly. Then the injury struck, and now they've found form, and he can't find his way back in. It's a shame.
It's a shame.
But if he sticks with it, you don't know. I mean, as you're going to see when you get into having to have Champions League, FA Cup, and the league, you need squad depth. And right now, Arsenal doesn't have that. So he'll find a bigger role when they get into next season. I think they qualify for Champions League pretty much for sure now.
I think it's pretty much assured they're qualifying.
So it's going to be a lot more difficult than the Thursday night Europa League.
Yes.
It's true. Brooks?
Does Kieran Tierney stick around, or does he go? Because he's kind of lost some starting, at the left back role.
Yeah, they got a pretty good guy there.
They do. They have 2 really good guys. And they have a guy that starts has done well for the Scottish national team, who's played left center back, and he's also played left back, obviously. But I mean, there have been rumors of people wanting to buy him.
And that's where you get into, listen, we brought in a player or two, and some people of losing minutes, and it's, do you want to go somewhere else, or do you want to stay here and compete? And injuries happen, and slumps happen, and work your way back in, and that's the type of player, that's the type of situation that the coach wants. He wants these players, and he's going to come up and he's going to say to them, listen, do you want to compete? Do you want some minutes? And the best coach, the absolute best coach at getting players to stick around and understand that is Pep Guardiola. Look at the amount of superstars they have, right? They got an A team, a B team, and a C team. And that C team could probably still finish in the top 5 in the Premiership. They were that good. Yeah. Well, where did Arteta come from? He learned under Pep Guardiola. So I guarantee, can take a lot of those guys, Tierney and some of the guys who aren't getting enough minutes or as much minutes as they normally would have gotten in previous years, and say, listen, next year we're going to be in Champions League. We're going to be in all the other cups. There's going to be minutes. Work your way back in. Just keep plugging along. This is what I need you to do better, and maybe this is how you earn more time.
Yeah.
I honestly thought, now Shook, I want your opinion on this. I thought Arteta was a good hire, but not a great hire. I thought this is a bit of a gamble when it happened, right? And I don't think you'll find a lot of people out there who said, "Oh, I knew it. I absolutely knew it, and I called it." What did you think when it first happened, the Arteta hire?
I thought it was better than Unai Emery, but I'm such a Wenger supporter just for what he's done to change the face of soccer in the Prem, from when he started and how what a modern player looks like compared to what a player looked like in the late 90s, based on the diets he brought in and the trainers and everything else. It was always going to be hard for me to say, I think this next guy is going to be great.
Yeah.
And there were some moments where I was, Arteta out.
Yeah.
Sure.
Then next week, Arteta in.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm done. I'm just going to trust the process.
Yeah.
I thought the All or Nothing TV show helped me start to understand what he's got going on behind the scenes a little more. But I always wonder how much of that do you really see and how much is edited just for the camera. It's been good, but 100% was not full all in
Not
on
all
him.
in at the first. I don't think you'll find many Arsenal fans who were all in at the first. But it's obviously worked out well. Brooks?
I just like you mentioned the all or nothing with Arsenal. I think I think you can edit things to make things look certain ways, obviously, but I was buying what Arteta was selling, and I could see the process as you went through every episode, and when he'd sit down and talk with the players, and he'd say, guys, listen, training has to be higher. Like, we must have a standard in training. If you don't want to bring a standard to training or meet my standard, you're gone. And that's just what Pep Guardiola would probably do at Man City. So I could see the things that he learned at Man City that he wanted to then implement into Arsenal, and it just took a while because they just weren't there because, there was so much. They weren't broken Arsenal. They just needed someone with that mentality and that stand. Like, I wouldn't say broken. Like, there was times when it was like you saw things and they were like, but when I just saw that with Arteta, you could just see him implementing things slowly, one piece at a time. And now it's just at this point, it's just, okay, we have our players like Zinchenko, Jesus were great signings, Tierney, and then, we have a bunch of depth. We need a little more depth now. Yeah. But now we can play for the league. We can hopefully win the league this year. And then we can do some pretty fun stuff next year with adding a few pieces here, staying competitive, and then we can have trophies galore and bring back Arsenal to what we were when Wenger was there. So it's interesting, and it could be scary interesting. I mean, could they be Invincibles good?
No one will ever be Invincibles good.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but it's strange to see the numbers. Mm-hmm. I think if they win like 6 more games, they'll surpass the point total. Yeah. But that Arsenal team back then, I think, had 12 draws that year, or maybe more.
Yeah, right. They did.
So
yeah. And all right, so let's make it difficult. You don't get to come on We Are Soccer and get a joyride and make it easy. All right, I'm calling it. I think Arsenal, and I've been calling this for several weeks now. Brooks can attest to this. I think Arsenal win it. I think they take the most important trophy of the year, which is the Premiership. Mm-hmm. I think they win it. I think they're going to win it. Not going to say easily, but with a game or two in hand. But what says you, Mr. Shook?
I think they win it because of the schedule congestion and the priority that Man City has to put on Champions League. It's a big bonus to not have to play those extra games.
Did Arsenal prioritize the Premiership when they were playing in the Europa League a couple of weeks back and lost at home? Right?
No, they won.
They I believe that was at the Emirates.
But they went to penalties and lost.
Yes, I think it was.
So they won the game.
Yes, but
went to extra time on the aggregate, then penalties and lost.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they prioritized.
But they didn't start certain players. You're like, well, why isn't Saka starting? Why isn't so and so starting? I forget. Mm-hmm. And you're looking at the lineup and you're like, okay, I think they're prioritizing here. But then when I think it was when it got drawn, when the game got drawn halfway through, about 60 minutes, 50th minute, they did start to make some subs. And they brought some of the big names on.
Yeah.
But they did prioritize the Premiership, right?
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we found most people have agreed with that.
Yeah. But that's okay. Yeah. Like, I think that's fine. You're in this position at that moment, prioritize it, because that's the creme de la creme besides the Champions League, right? And they're not 100%. In the Champions League. I mean, there are years where people play, a lot of people in the FA Cup, and I'm like, you got a big game this week. You're still, like, do you really, like, It's the problem I have. The FA Cup and everything, they are legendary trophies, but the importance has just declined so much with how much the trophy means as we implement these bigger competitions. So
well, let's actually read off the last games here that Arsenal have. There are next week away at Liverpool.
Monday.
Is that Monday the 9th? Wait, what day is today?
Today's the 2nd, so it's after Easter.
All right.
Day after Easter.
So next one at Liverpool. Tough game.
Yeah.
Tough game. Anytime you go to Anfield, right? Yes. Yeah, that's a tough one. So that's going to be, I don't want to say a decider, but that could really, if they minimum draw, and I think we're going along. We lose, that could be tough.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden it's West Ham.
Which may have nothing to play for at some point.
West Ham need to win. They got to get some points to make sure they avoid relegation.
Yeah.
They're still in the fight there a little bit.
Yeah.
That's not an easy one. It's a London game. Then you've got Southampton. Listen, Southampton going to be fighting for points.
Yes.
They're bottom of the table. They are.
But they're bad.
They're terrible. Yeah, they're terrible. Yeah. They just pulled out a victor. They just drew Spurs last week. 2 weeks ago, to incite the Conte rant, right?
Yes.
So they can get a result here and there. And then comes the big one. The one we're all looking forward to. Wednesday, April 26th, Man City, Arsenal.
It's not May 13th?
What?
It's not May 13th?
It's not May 13th.
They play Brighton.
My
Seagulls, Craig.
No.
Come on.
That could be a tough one, by the way, but no.
Come on.
The match we're all looking forward to. And
yes.
I think this match will be watched by millions and millions of people worldwide.
Yes.
I mean, it's almost Super Bowl-esque at this point, right? It's the winner of that game, if it's close.
Just need a draw.
Yeah.
Just need to share the points and take a game off the fixture list.
Yep.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
I like it though. There's it was so lopsided the past couple years of who was going to win. It's nice that everything's close and this is interesting. This is what you want,
And then comes Arsenal versus Chelsea. And who knows who's in charge there? Maybe an interim coach or waiting for Simeone. Yeah. And then comes Newcastle.
That's difficult.
Who
Eddie Howe
today just pulled out a result.
Yeah.
I think we're going to talk about that game in a minute, by the way, once we get through the last few fixtures for Arsenal here. That game could be really difficult because Newcastle just capable. I'm sorry, but Eddie Howe has done a phenomenal job there. Question for you, Shooky. Manager of the year. If Arteta wins the Premiership, I think he deserves it.
Absolutely.
If he does not, and they finish second or second, because he only really plays, it's got to be Eddie Howe at Newcastle. What he's done with that squad, right?
Yeah, no one had them in the top four.
No one. You're right.
No. Everybody's probably thinking they're fighting for a European place, 8, 7, 6. Yeah. But to be there, fighting for third or fourth place is incredible.
Yeah. It absolutely is. And to make it through to Carabao Cup final, unfortunately losing to Man United as they did. Let's finish up with the Arsenal fixtures here. And then to your Brighton and Hove Albion, which, no offense, Brooks, but Arsenal should win that one. And then Nottingham Forest.
You say that now, Craig.
Then they're
you
playing
may have just jinxed Arsenal.
Nottingham Forest is going to be scratching for points because they're going to try to avoid relegation. But at that point, the second to last game of the season, they could already be gone. So hopefully Arsenal fans, Nottingham Forest are gone by that point, and there's no chance. But I doubt it. And then the last game of the year, Wolverhampton Wanderers, which Wolves are going to have nothing to play for. They're not going to be able to get into Europe, in my opinion. Yeah. They're not going to be relegated. So that game will be at the Emirates.
I think the last two are difficult because you're a middle of the table team there, so you have nothing really to gain. But also, if you're Nottingham Forest and you're already eliminated, then what else do you have to play for besides just go all out and just try to finish and give the fans something hopeful for next year when you win the championship?
If you got nothing to play for, it's strange. That creeps into your head a lot of the time, and you're thinking, I don't want to get injured and ruin my summer here. And is anybody going to remember if we finished 11th or 12th this year? And
remember if you knocked off Arsenal and they didn't win the league because of you. That's the talk. That's the talk of the stuff next year.
No, that won't matter.
The coulda, woulda, shoulda.
I don't think that really matters to the professional player these days.
Okay, all right.
I could be wrong, but
Alright.
I think Wolves are at that point going to be 100% safe, and they're going to go, listen, I'm due to fly out to Ibiza tomorrow, and my wife's going to be super pissed if I've got a broken anything and have to delay this. So, yeah, I'm not going into that tackle. Congratulations, Arsenal, on winning. I don't care, and I'm going to get out of here. Do your celebrating, I'm out. Just my thing. But if it's a relegation fight, then a team like Nottingham Forest, second to last game of the year, they're gonna fight. So those are pretty tough fixtures there. That Newcastle one. Listen, today Man United went up to Newcastle, up to Tyneside, and got trounced 2-0. Could have been worse. David De Gea
Great
with
first
some
half.
Yeah.
absolute. All right, I want to ask you this, Shuki. You're a goalkeeper guy. Listen. Is David De Gea the best reaction? I don't even know if it's a word. Reactional goalkeeper. His reaction skills are, in my opinion, top class. Probably the best in the world.
He's in the conversation.
Yeah. He's okay. I'm good
He's
with
in
that.
the conversation.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
See, I know something, even though I don't like
Martinez is pretty good at.
I
Villa.
got Jan Oblak as the top guy with that
Yeah.
reflex and reaction.
Yeah.
He's amazing. I know he's been sort of off the radar the last year and a half
Sure.
with Atletico not being
Yeah.
where they were.
Yep.
And with La Liga not being as competitive.
Yep.
They've sort of, the focus has gone off of the top four there.
Yeah.
But I rate him. I rate De Gea for that. He has plenty of other holes in his game for me.
Yeah.
But when it comes to inside the six and just his frame, just the way he opens up and gets hit with balls, it's amazing.
There was
Ramsdale does a good job too.
Ramsdale does a good
Oh,
job
yeah.
too. There was
Yeah.
one today in the second half. The ball came in, I believe it was on a corner kick, and I didn't even know who it was. What Newcastle player was on the must have been the 2 or 3 yard line. Just put a header, and De Gea just got his hands up here, pushed it onto the bar, and then the ball went. I mean, just absolutely. That's just pure reaction right there, right? Getting your body, getting something on the ball, and doing a great job.
Yep.
He does have a lot of holes in his game, though. One of the reasons I think Man United are asking him to take a reduction in salary is they look to sign him for a new contract. Currently, he's on £375,000 a week.
Yeah.
I'll need to look it up, but I believe he is one of the top 5 best paid players in the Premiership,
Yep.
as is Jadon Sancho. Yeah, we can all definitely have a chuckle at that.
Yes.
Um,
Because Nate's not here, right?
yeah, and Manchester United sucks. Well, they do today at least, because Newcastle should have probably beat them 4-0, and David De Gea, the hero, kept it at 2-0. Rashford did not look very, very good. Dan Burn had him in his pocket, I thought, most of the match. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who say, listen, he's still injured. He missed the England matches. I think Man United talked Rashford out of playing for England and said, let's just tell everybody you're injured so that you can have some time off and time away.
Mm-hmm.
Because during that time away, he flew with his girlfriend to New York and walked around the city and had some good old fun there.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
He absolutely did. And listen, I'm not going to take anything away from anybody who's got time off and is flying off and having some rest and relaxation with their significant other. Good for them. But you did pull out of England, which were 2 qualifying games that we didn't need you anyway, Rashford. Rashford has been on fire for the past several months under Erik ten Hag and has been playing very well. So I can absolutely 100% see why, if I'm believing what I'm theorizing here is true, that Man United talked him out of playing for England. It is what it is. But today, Rashford was not on the pace. He looked like he was off. He played on the right for a little bit. Dan Burn had him in his pocket. He moved off to the left. He couldn't do anything out of there. I think today Eriksen and Casemiro were big misses. Casemiro especially. Man United have trouble connecting the back to the front. There was a big gaping hole there where Casemiro would have filled. McTominay is just not the player to do it. I thought Fred should have started. Fred did not. He sat on the bench.
Oh,
It was a big
Craig,
miss.
there have been rumors that he should just play center forward after all the goals he scored for Scotland.
McTominay?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, okay. All right. Hold on.
He is not a bad player. Man United
the
fans
funny thing,
rip on him
We
too
do
much.
have someone in our group,
Yeah.
in the Facebook group, the We
Yeah.
Are Soccer Facebook group, Mr. Andrew Kelly, who has said that. He said, I would rather have Wout Weghorst on the bench and Scott McTominay playing forward because he used to play as a youth player
Yep.
up top and he could score goals. He's got a decent record of it. You would be I'm sorry, but I 100% agree with Andrew because Wout Weghorst is absolutely terrible. I've been saying this since day one, and no United fan has been on board with this. And now I think they're finally seeing it. Because the last 2 games he's been subbed at halftime or in the 52nd minute or something stupid like that. He is a absolutely terrible player. Wout Weghorst, for his size, cannot do anything in the air. He has a terrible touch. He is slow, and he can't connect.
Yeah.
Terrible. Do not tell me he's a good hold-up player because he is not. My mom is a better hold-up player than he is. McTominay would do much better. Plus,
He could probably actually press the ball too if he wanted to, and he'd actually defend.
Yeah,
because he's a midfielder by trade. Because he's been playing that. For a few
McTominay
years.
would be a way better option up top than Wout.
He's just a utility player. I mean, he's played center back. He's played center back and a 3-back for Scotland. He's played all over in midfield. I mean, why not? Why not give it a try? What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shook, I do want your opinion or your thoughts on Man United. Obviously, are searching for a true 9. They're searching for that next goal scorer. Who's it going to be?
I don't know, but I was just laughing that you guys were talking about Man U like they were some just average team testing out center forwards. I mean, a club with that.
Well, they are.
But the club with that history should have no problem finding a 9 who fits their system.
Yep.
I don't know who it is.
It's hard to find a good goal scorer these days,
Well,
even
that's-
if you have a lot of money. But
that's where it's at. That's why those guys get paid the big bucks. I mean, you decide games in both boxes, and right now they're not winning either.
Exactly.
They're not winning those boxes. And I think it's a good job that Man United went on such a good run in the middle of the season because they were poor at the beginning. Yeah. I think we're seeing them now at the end of the season here be poor probably because, and I hate to make excuses or put excuses out there for Man United, as you can tell I do not like Man United, because of the amount of games they do have. They are still in a lot of competitions and they have a lot of games compared to most clubs. Yep. But Shook, you're not wrong. They need a goal scorer, and we're
Rashford's
talking.
Carrying too much weight. He's been wonderful. I mean, he's explosive, and if they could find one more guy to link up and get him in higher positions, as opposed to him getting the ball near the mid stripe and then having to go alone and get around the edge and cut in. I mean, that's just a lot of wear and tear throughout the season.
And the pressure is piling up, and I think we saw it today. I also think Man United said, well, wait a minute, we just beat these guys about 4 or 5 weeks ago in the Carabao Cup final. We could have beaten them 5-0.
Yeah, it wasn't even a game.
And to Man United's credit, they did trounce them there and win easily. I think Man United thought, we're going to go up to Tyneside today and we'll do the same thing. We'll win 2-0 easy, get out of here, and focus on the next games. And that didn't happen. But Shook, you're right. I think Rashford is feeling the pressure. I think he's feeling the wear and tear on his body.
Yeah, I think he handles the pressure fine, but it's the wear and tear, and it's just the responsibility of like, hey guys, can I get a little bit of help?
Yeah,
just a little bit.
He gets help from Bruno Fernandes every once in a while, but there's really think about it, they really don't have another. They have defensive midfielders that play east to west, can play forward, have good vision, but they really don't have another midfielder like an 8 that's really a true box to box that can score goals for you. I mean, because Fernandes can play that false 9 or that 10. But I mean, the wingers, Weghorst hasn't done anything. And they shoot the outside back so much, but you get no service because you have no one in the box that's that good header of the ball. So, you might as well just let Shaw and everyone dribble inside. Why not, right? Yeah. Just to see what happens to attract players, but I don't know.
It is funny. I love, Shook, that you said that we're talking about them like they're an average club and they're trying some different things out, and you're not wrong. That's how I think of them.
Yeah.
But so here's what's currently happening at Man United. We do have a lot of Man United fans who follow the show. It's just strange. Man United currently are in the process of re-signing Delot, Rashford, De Gea, and Shaw. Shaw's contract is supposedly done. He's just going to sign it. Rashford, they're still negotiating. There's rumors there that it's pretty much done. They're just waiting to sign it. Delot, I believe, is almost done. And the De Gea, I don't know what happens there. I think he's waiting for something to open up in Spain. I think if something in Spain comes along that piques his interest, he'll go there. I don't think he likes being criticized in England at the moment. And we all know that a couple of years ago he wanted out. There was a transfer. It fell a couple of minutes short, and then all of a sudden he re-signed for big money with Man United, who were clamoring for him.
PSG, Craig? PSG for De Gea?
No, Donnaruma's
It's a
got
graveyard
that.
for goalkeepers.
Donnaruma's got that one.
Well, they'll pay him money.
Yeah.
They are in
know,
need
yeah.
of a
Die
big
rich.
name
Yeah.
striker. So, and I do think it's Kane or Osimhen, the Nigerian striker at Napoli, who signs there this summer. I think Kane could end up there. I think he could because why not? Why not? He goes there. I think they win.
He might get a trophy.
Yes.
He's going to Newcastle, Craig. Come on, we talked about this.
I know. I do think Newcastle could use him as well. They'll probably pay him more as well.
I just don't know why Kane would have waited so late into his career to make a change.
I think he's a very loyal guy, you know,
Absolutely.
and I do, you know, I mean, listen, are we going to look back? I think it's absurd to look back on Harry Kane's career to be like, okay, is he like, we're going to call him an all-time great if we talk about what you've achieved, but if you're going to talk, like, in terms of trophies, but if we talk about just like, the caliber of player and what he meant for a team and how he scored goals and for the national team plus his club team, I mean, if we're going to talk on EPL starting 11, I mean, I would put it in consideration maybe for him to be up there.
All time?
Yeah. You want?
That's a. I think we look.
Wow.
I think we look back in 20 years and say, listen, he was one of the best players of his time, of his generation, all time.
Though I guess maybe you
All-time
guys have seen
EPL?
some.
There's some-
Like Shearer and everyone. Maybe that's a
I mean,
stretch.
you're
Second team?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
hear
second
that.
team.
Yeah.
I agree with second team.
Okay.
I say, first
Yeah.
team, you've got Thierry Henry, Alan Shearer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I go right
Sheringham.
Henry and
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
You had a lot of players. That's
yeah.
fair.
But I think second team. But I think 20 years
Cantona.
from now, we do look back and say, in the years of the 2000 teens and early 20s, he was one of the top player, if not the top player for 15 years in the EPL
Yeah.
with his goal scoring records.
And it was consistent. It was like double digits.
yes.
And that's hard to do. People don't understand, like, to do it again and again and again and not get bored and not be a prima donna about things.
the
And
number of coaches he's had to
Oh
adapt
my
to
God.
is
Oh my God.
incredible.
yes,
It really is.
he has done
say
what-
anything good
Yes.
about a Tottenham player.
Yeah.
He's done a great job under
Yes.
maybe 10 managers.
yeah.
Harry
You'd
Kane.
have to look up.
Harry Kane to Arsenal?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
No.
I know.
Vieira went there and
I know.
Campbell.
Man, wouldn't they be
I'd
good
say
with
there's only
Jesus
been
and
two transfers
Kane?
that I know of, right?
Yeah.
The Campbell one was the one.
Yeah.
I think Harry Kane, and people forget he's still only 29 years old, so he's got another 2 or 3 years. And listen,
MLS, Craig.
he ain't going to the MLS.
Ah,
He's that old.
come on.
I think if he goes to a Man United, there are trophies. There's instant trophies. He will win a trophy in 2 years. It might be 2 or 3 trophies because he is that good. You go to Newcastle, you probably get a couple more dollars, and you're going to win maybe a Carabao Cup or
Still not a guarantee of
there's
that.
no guarantee. I think there's almost a guarantee of at least a trophy, a good trophy at Man United.
Agreed.
Do they win the Premiership? Nah, they'll compete.
Yep.
They'll compete. Do they win the FA Cup? They could definitely win the FA Cup. Absolutely. Champions League might be a bit of a stretch, but they win the Carabao Cup. They win something. Absolutely. With him. Now think about it. That's 20 to 25 goals.
Yeah.
He does that consistently.
Yeah.
I think he takes you put him in the current Man United team, he takes them to instant contender in everything they do. He is that good. As we said, why is he not left yet? Loyalty to a fault. I think he's just loyal. And I give the guy credit. I absolutely give the guy credit. I say, pat him on the back, congratulations, you tried, this is the club that you wanted to be at, you were at, you gave it your best. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's time. And Shooky, I'm going to tell you the example I'll give is a Robin Van Persie, right? He wanted to win trophies, and he's like, well, there's an offer, and I'm going.
Yeah.
And he
And
went.
a year later,
Yeah.
hold it up.
Yeah.
It hurt.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, what if, like we've talked about, Erling Haaland leaves Man City, and then they're in need of a striker? So, does Harry Kane fill that role?
No.
No?
No, I don't see Erling Haaland leaving this summer, and I don't see them
Is it his
buying
clause?
a striker who's 29. I think they go
Okay.
younger. Osimhen would be a better pickup for them. Plus, they have Julian Alvarez, who's a very good striker and has filled in nicely when Haaland is out.
Okay.
There are better players, not better players. There are younger players who who could fit into that system a little bit better, in my opinion.
He would definitely win trophies next year for them if he went in there and played, and it'd be a nice depth piece. And I think he'd be content to be like, I'll start games. You can start this kid, but as I'll still. I mean, think of him in Pep's system. Oh, that'd be scary. He'd score 25 goals at least.
I love putting it out there, but I don't see it happening.
Craig, you
You're
want
shaking
Man
your
City
head?
because you want the Manchester United fans to suffer. Come on, let's be
yes,
honest.
Yes, I mean, I want them to
I
suffer
don't
a
see
lot.
Kane at City.
That's fair
Don't.
enough. Okay.
I don't see that happening. Do you?
No.
Someone have to whatever the buyout clause would be for Holland, and it would probably be two teams, PSG.
Where do you have Holland going?
I know. Real Madrid, right?
Real Madrid's the rumor, but I think.
But they just signed Benzema to another year, didn't they?
They have, but I still think Mbappe goes there. I think, in my opinion, I'm calling this. I called this in December, in November, and was called crazy at the time. Bellingham to Real Madrid this summer. That's the biggest domino to fall. Once that falls, the price is set for all defensive midfielders, sixes. So Rice will then probably end up at Liverpool, in my opinion. And I think I could actually see a Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa ending up at Arsenal, which would hurt me because I think he's a very good player for us and I like him, even though he did just sign a new contract. But I think let's go. Sorry, I kind of rabbit trail down there. I think Bellingham to Real Madrid, and I think Real Madrid not this year, but maybe in the next window or two after that, will make a play for Mbappe, who still has not said he wants to commit his future to PSG. He's very coy. I think he will be there. Because, listen, you've got PSG, you've got any of the Premiership teams. Let's just say any of the Premiership teams, great. But Real Madrid, Real Madrid are up here. Real Madrid are on another level. And I, to be honest, after watching the Apple Plus,
Did you watch
Apple
that?
TV Super League, despise Real Madrid even more now. But Real Madrid are up here. This is where that club is compared to all the other clubs in the world.
Yeah.
No?
No, I'm with you. I just
yeah.
shake my head like every time you turn a Champions League game on, and you're like, how do they keep winning?
How do they do it?
It's a different lineup.
Yeah, Real
every
Madrid.
3 years
Yeah.
it looks different,
Yeah.
and the results are exactly
I
the
mean,
same.
it's an academy system. It's finding the right players. It's overpaying some guys, but not everyone. It's and then I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, they spend a lot of money, but then people buy their players for a certain amount of money.
If you think of the team right now that Real Madrid has and what they're winning with, they've got a 34-year-old striker.
who had to sit behind Ronaldo for a very,
For
very
years.
long time.
For years.
And man, oh man.
Yeah.
Imagine if he wasn't sitting behind Ronaldo when he played for another team. Holy smokes.
I think
Maybe we'd be talking about, world best 11 maybe for a few years, as in Benzema if he wasn't playing around.
I think that's actually helped his career. That's
It has.
helped the longevity of his career.
Yes.
Sitting behind a striker like that, you didn't play every week, and
Yeah.
now you are playing every week.
Yeah.
And you're just
that
stuck
hat
at those
trick
young
today
players.
by him was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
First half hat trick. Unbelievable. Did you see the third goal? Oh my word!
All three of them. All three were different.
All three were different.
Which
You're
is
absolutely
amazing.
right. And if you guys haven't, don't do it now. Keep watching the show. But if you haven't seen the hat trick by Benzema today, go Google YouTube it, because unbelievable. The third ball, he runs into the box, it gets swung in behind him, and he somehow lifts his leg and flicks his toe, and it's not a true bicycle, but it's
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it. And Shook, you were right. All three different.
Yeah.
All
The
three
header
different.
goal was incredible because there was no way he was going to get his feet organized to tap that in, to have the wherewithal to basically drop to his knees, and a far post header on the ground was incredible. And the shape on that second goal,
Yeah.
I felt bad for the goalkeeper. He just looked and was like,
I'm not getting that.
not a chance.
All three goals different, as you said, but all three he seemed to create space for himself and separation from the defender.
Him and Harry
Every
Kane are
defender-
probably the two best strikers that create space for themselves.
Every defender in the country, every defender watching, every defender in the world knows that man is one of the best strikers in the world, is in form.
Yeah.
Stick with him. And yet he still seems to create 5 to 7 yards of space, of separation. And how the hell? The best players in the world do this. Messi does it. Kane, as you just said, Brooks, does it. They create that separation. There are defenders who are told, you go
Lewandowski
out
does
and you
it.
stick on his hip and on his shoulder, and they still can't do it.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but that Real Madrid team, They do have Tony Kroos in the middle, who just retired from international football, and he is more of a family man than anything else.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched the Netflix, I believe it's a Netflix documentary. Is it Netflix or Amazon? Tony Kroos. Watch it. Very good.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Very
the
nice
Apple
documentary.
TV Real Madrid one I'm watching right now is pretty
Yeah,
good, and
that's
that's
pretty
where
good.
I learned.
Yeah.
When Benzema was talking about sitting behind Ronaldo, it was tough for him at times, but it was not necessarily, like you said, a bad thing. It was very much it helped with the longevity of his career, but also it helped just a learning process, because he was there from a very young age. After, was it Lyon? No, where was he bought from?
Jeez,
Marseille.
That sounds right.
Maybe it was Marseille he was bought from.
We'll have to look that up.
We forget he's been there for an extremely long time. He's been playing a lot of clubs, so yeah.
But I think those are the big dominoes that fall, and I see Mbappe moving there. I don't see a Harry Kane going to a Real Madrid. I think Harry Kane ends up at a Man United, a Newcastle, or a Bayern. Those three, one of those three. I think Bayern Munich are struggling without a real true 9 now that Lewandowski is left. Yeah. Mane has not been able to fill that hole because he's not a true 9. He plays on the left. With a true 9 like Kane, they win and really do compete every year for Champions League for the next 3 or 4 years. Newcastle got the money and the wherewithal to go get a player like Kane, but there's no guarantee. So I think it's a Man United or Bayern is where he ends up, because he does want a trophy. He most likely is sick and tired of hearing that he hasn't won a trophy. And Jeff, you keep laughing because they are your biggest rivals.
Yeah.
But I think that's where he ends up. I know we got a couple of minutes here before we take our first break, but what I do want to put up real quick is the EPL table.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right, there it is. It's Arsenal up top. They are 8 points ahead, 1 game ahead of Man City.
I like how your Aston Villa every week is highlighted. Is that because you follow them on there?
I do take my screenshot, and they are the team that I've got. Yeah. So plus they did move up. We moved up tonight. We're in the top half of the table.
They are not far from. We'll see what happens. Sorry, I don't want to jinx anything.
You took the topic off the tongue there.
Yeah.
But before we get to Aston Villa, I do want to show. Listen, Manchester City on 64 points. Listen, it's going to be 1-2 Arsenal, Man City. That's kind of wrapped up in my opinion. Obviously, there's no one who can catch them. Newcastle United with a win today, 3 points. They get to 50. They are ahead of Manchester United on goal difference. So, come on, Newcastle, get the job done. Finish ahead of Man United.
Craig, my Seagulls are in 6th.
I noticed.
Oh, sorry.
I did notice. They're in 43. On 43. Only 2 points ahead of Villa, by the way.
I know.
Yeah. So
they're closing
Villa
in on Tottenham, though.
2 points. 2 points out of 6. Listen, we just need to get to that top 7. I'm dreaming. Again, my goal this year as a Villa fan was just to finish in the top half. Now all of a sudden we're 3 points out of 6. Please. Yeah. So Liverpool down at 42. I do expect them to go on a run and win some games. They will, in my opinion, get into that top 7. I do not think that they get into the top 4. It is a little too late. There they are, Chelsea in 11th, 38 points. Without a manager, who knows what the hell they will do. Down at the bottom,
that could be bad.
Southampton, poor on 23 points. Leicester City, that's why they fired Brendan Rodgers. They're on 25 points. Everton on 26. Leeds obviously didn't put up much of a fight yesterday. They are down there.
Bournemouth won.
There are going to be some... Listen, guys. Leicester City, Everton, Leeds... Those are big, and even Southampton, they're good-sized clubs.
Yeah.
2 of those 3 clubs are going to be gone, and they could really struggle to come back to the Premiership. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. If you guys remember Leeds, what they did, they were in the Champions League final. Back in the late 90s, 99 I want to say, and the next year poor, and the next year relegated, and then they didn't get back to the Premiership. Redesdale sold the club, didn't want to put money in, sold it. They got poor owners, and that can happen. They could do it. Someone in Everton, I'm very worried about Everton. They could do a Sunderland. With all that money they've just put into a new stadium, and now they're going to not have enough money to put into players and into the infrastructure of the team.
Well, then they get hit with lying about their finances.
Listen, I'm not an Everton fan in any way whatsoever.
Yeah.
hey man, this is a business. See you later.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a small break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Do us a favor, get us a drink. Get yourself a drink. If you can get us a drink, that'd be great. Get yourself a drink. Get some peanuts. Get something, and we'll be back. We have got a lot of stuff coming up. We're gonna talk about Eric Winalda. Is he bashing U.S. soccer, telling the truth, and what is it? We're going to talk about his article that was put out in The Guardian. I am a huge fan of what he said. I am buying into what he said. I've been saying it for years, actually. So we'll get there. We are going to talk about Team of the Week. We're going to talk about a few other pieces. We'll look at the La Liga table. We'll talk about the MLS games that happened this weekend. Lots to get to. But for now, get a drink. Watch two of these little videos here, and then...
Tempo, yes, drop out, good. Yes, touch, play, right foot, yes. Scan, good. Touch in, play, drop your hip, right, yes, good scan. Yes. Jay, well done. Inside on touch, play, see it, yes.
Better for Rochester. We're just gonna do some light chopping. Okay. Nothing big. Ooh, pretty colors. Oh, and one of these too.
Ooh, Germany. Nate would like this.
Hey Brooks, look at all these. Look what I got.
South America. Ooh. Wow, that's not MLS. Cool.
Socks? No.
Ooh, a ball pump.
Next to line.
Sir, you're next.
Right. That's a mannequin, you know that.
Huh?
It's a mannequin.
Oh. Sorry, sir. All right, guys, welcome back. We were just reminiscing about some games that Jeff Shook and I played against each other. We do have Jeff Shook in the studio with us today. Nate is off doing whatever Nate does when he
Crying?
Yeah,
Stuttgart lose?
Oh, that's right. So Stuttgart lost 3-0, and Man United lost 2-0. That's 5 goals to the, I don't want to say good, but sorry, Nate. He's crying in a corner somewhere.
Well, he's happy FC since he beat your Inter Miami, though.
This is true. This is true.
You know.
And no bets were made during that. All right, lots to get to. We're going to start off with Team of the Week. Then we're going to jump into the Eric Winalda piece that was in The Guardian this past week. We all have some good views on that with U.S. soccer. We'll talk about some goalkeeper training, the difference in training today and the difference in goalkeepers today compared to 10, 20, 30 years ago. I'm really interested in talking about that. For now, though, let's put up this week's Team of the Week. We have the Michigan Jaguars 2007, which is U16, MLS Next Team. These boys, what a season they've been having. They are coached by Coach Pete Pizzoski. They this weekend played FC United Chicago and
Last weekend.
Last weekend, sorry.
Yes.
Ooh, last weekend. You're right. There it is. 5-3 victory, and nominated by a player, Luke Zagreb, if I'm saying his name correctly.
Yeah.
So Luke, thank you for the nomination.
Yeah.
From what I understand, this is one hell of a team, one hell of a good team. So congratulations to the Michigan Jaguars 2007 MLS Next Team. Awesome to see nominations coming in from players. Awesome. Thank you, guys. And listen, if you have a team that you would like to nominate for the Michigan Soccer Central and We Are Soccer Team of the Week, please send us a note. Hit us up on any of our social channels. We would love to hear who deserves to be the Team of the Week. You can find the We Are Soccer social channels, the Michigan Soccer Central social channels. Just let us know who you think should be that Team of the Week. If you do not already follow Michigan Soccer Central on their social channels, please go and do that. What we're going to do right now is I'm going to show you a little video of what they've got on their podcast. So please go ahead and give this a 1-minute watch, and we'll be right back.
Hey, what's up, gentlemen? Robert Kerr here from the Michigan Soccer Central podcast. On the heels of a not-so-successful weekend in the pro level for Michigan teams, Detroit City FC having a delayed and then a fruitless Saturday night. Gold Star FC with their first ever game, not so successful down in Chattanooga. And then the Michigan Stars getting a 1-1 draw on the road. So not too successful there, but it is great days for the summer soccer season fans. It was tryout weekend. Saturday, not so good for Oakland County FC tryouts, but Sunday, it was a great time. I even got a little bit of pink sunshine on the face, so it's great to see summer soccer is on the way if it's open tryout season. Be sure to tune into the Michigan Soccer Central podcast. We had 2 episodes last week, one reviewing the opening day for Detroit City FC, a preview with the Knights Hussein Nisa about the upcoming Nisa season, and then this week we will feature an interview with board member from Lansing Common, one of the most active and well-supported amateur clubs in Michigan. And then I think we'll probably post after the Open Cup game between Detroit City FC and Gold Star FC on Tuesday night. So this week's episode is probably going to drop on Wednesday. As far as this week, gentlemen, in Premier League action, as a Liverpool fan, the season can't come to an end soon enough. All right, catch Michigan Soccer Central at MI Soccer Central and the Michigan Soccer Central podcast on YouTube and all your favorite audio streaming platforms. So enjoy the intermission and back to We Are Soccer here on a Sunday night.
All right, do us a favor. Give Michigan Soccer Central a like, a share, and a subscribe as well as us. Big thank you to some of our friends, Soccer World, Rod and Wad. Good guys. Jeff Shook and I were talking about those guys during the break. Those guys they're like the godfathers of soccer here in Michigan. It's crazy. They've been around forever. Such good dudes. Soccer World. Visit them, 3 Metro Detroit locations for any of your soccer gear needs, or soccerworld.net. Anything online, man, trust me, those are good dudes. It's a good company to deal with. Soccer World, trust me, I love them. And Next Level Training. Aaron Bird, Scotty Wright, Renato, Dylan, dude, these guys are some of the best trainers, not in the state, but in the nation. There are players, World Cup players, who are flying into Metro Detroit, staying here, and training with Aaron, Scotty, Dylan, Renato. Listen, if it's good enough for World Cup type players, it's good enough for me, and it's good enough for my kid, and it's good enough for you. Next Level Training. Hit them up. Some of the best trainers you will ever come across. All right, boys, listen. There was an article put out this week by former U.S. men's national team player Eric Winalda. It was published in The Guardian, an English newspaper, and he was explaining the problem with youth soccer here in America. I was sent this article. Brooks, I believe you sent it to me. Thank you very much.
I did.
And I read the title, and I went, oh boy. All right, here we go. Eric Winalda. Let's see what he's got to say. And it's a good 5 to 7 minute read, but I agreed with every single point that he made.
Yes.
It's less about him. It's not about him. It's about the state of U.S. soccer and the pay to play and how expensive it is. And now what he put, play to stay, or stay to play, or however he stated it.
Yeah, stay to play.
Yeah,
I have the article up, yeah.
It's expensive. Youth soccer is expensive. What happens?
The de-emphasize of the high school game,
Yeah.
and club games not meaning as much anymore, and it doesn't help the development of the player. And
it's a great article. I mean, you got to admit,
is.
right? And I agree with one point. There's 2 points specifically that stuck out to me. I do not like the clubs have taken away high school soccer. U.S. soccer has taken away how important high school soccer is. Call me an old school guy. I love high school soccer. I love the passion you can have while playing for your school and playing for your teammate or your schoolmates. I absolutely loved that, going to a rival school. I loved that. That doesn't happen anymore. I don't think there's rivalries in youth soccer too much anymore. I don't know, man. And then one of the other pieces that I really agreed with was, and Shook, I'd love your opinion on this, that he said there's a lot of good midfielders. We got 1,000 good midfielders here in the USA because they all know how to pass sideways and they all know how to hold the ball. But no one knows how to attack. We don't have a true 9. We don't have a player who can go at people and score goals. And that's something I have been saying for maybe 15 years now. One of my big problems with youth soccer and youth coaches is they find a good player who likes to dribble and go at people, and they say, oh, you need to be a team player. You need to pass the ball. Let's see how many assists you can get. F that, man. Listen, you get a player who can score a goal and loves to attack, you need to embrace that and have the kid get better at it. Yep. And really tell him, we need that, not only on your team or in this state or in this country. We need players who can score goals. So those are my 2 big takeaways from this article. Shook, I'd love your thoughts on the article and what you thought about it.
All right, we can go back to the high school part and how the youth game has no rivalries. I think big part of that problem is we have so many clubs in this area, and our top teams never play each other. We're all playing in these regional leagues and national leagues, so you've got a quality opponent 5 minutes away, but we're going to fly 5 hours to Austin to go play 4 teams from other parts of the country. And with at least in our case, with the Midwest being so strong, we go down there and win 4 games by an aggregate of 15-1, and then we come back into state cup games and we're only winning 1 or 2-0 with quality opponents, where no financial stress, no time stress, no stress on the family. Is mom going? Is dad going?
I need to miss school.
And you only play that team once every 2 years maybe, so how do you get a rivalry?
Yep.
So it's tough. I mean, if it was all under one umbrella, where we had a true pyramid of every club and every league, playing for this national championship or whatever you want to call it, you might get some rivalries. But with 3 organizations running their own league or system, it's hard. I mean, we don't even play in the same organization as several clubs in the area.
Yeah.
And how sad is that? How sad is that? You never get to see. You just never get to see some players and teams, and it's like oh God.
Yeah.
No, at least in the case with one of the teams that I coach, we are far more familiar with our rival in Kansas City and our rival in St. Louis than we are with anybody else in Michigan. And that's incredible. We played a Kansas City team 6 times. They're the current national champs at U9, and we played them 6 times.
Wow.
And I can't tell you if there's a team in Michigan we played more than twice. Maybe one team we played twice in 2 years.
Yeah, it's
sad. It's
I have
a sad
a-
state of affairs.
Yeah. Klaus de Boer came out with, a few years ago. In Soccer America interviewed him, and Klaus and I have talked, when he was at DCFC doing a lot of stuff when Ben Pierman was there, and he hit the point very hard, and I very much agreed with him, was we've taken this game of club soccer as like the all importance of, if I don't play another team in another state, how am I going to get better? The irony is that, like Shuki just brought up, is that it's really sad that a team that's 10 to 15 minutes away, you've only played twice, and you've played a team from an out-of-state 6 or 7 times already in a regional league. Klaus's argument, which I very much agreed with, was if we centered the focus, each state centered the focus back on everyone playing each other within the state, then that will improve the quality, and it'll also save people money and travel expenses. And then we can worry about getting to play other teams in the other region, in the other state, or in Chicago or whatever. Like, it's the focus, and this has, I think, been driven by parents for expectations. I think showcases have crushed and killed the idea of what games mean, because you have all these, and it's all about this now, of like, I'm going to run a big showcase down at Grand Park in Indianapolis. And listen, I love going to Grand Park, and I've seen a lot of great soccer there. College, youth, USYS, USSDA, when it was back in the day when they had the summer playoffs and showcase there. But the idea of I need to go play at a showcase every 3 times a year because my son Timmy or Jimmy need to go be seen by a Division 2 or 3 coach is absurd, especially when you're not playing in the highest division of that showcase. And believe me, I was an NAIA coach, and I was recruiting, that was my job. And I never touched the 3rd or 4th division teams because it was just absurd of why you would even do that. And I'm sorry that parents had gotten, conned into doing this, essentially. But this idea, you need to be determined every weekend and you don't need to play the teams in their area, is really a horrible direction that this has gone in.
Is the focus now on more about money and more about building my club and building things for the coach and having the coach be a full-time coach and have him be a winner, rather than the focus where it should be, which is the sport and the kid? Actually, the kid, then the sport.
Yes.
Right?
We've become very, very good at developing organizations in this country and not players.
Yeah.
Not 501Cs we're talking about businesses.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's all youth sports, not just soccer. It's,
And I struggle a little bit because, listen, I grew up, I'm 42 now, but and when I was going through the youth ranks, we were coached by, my high school coach was a science teacher, right? and he'd played some college soccer, so he loved soccer and he was a science teacher. Mm-hmm. But, and for all his faults, you could tell though that he loved the sport and he cared about the kids, right?
Yep.
My youth team coach was an ex-professional, and then my dad was the assistant coach who's an ex-professional, and they cared. That was the only, they both had full-time jobs, and that was their thing. In the evening, they came out, and I played for the Wolves, and they coached us, and we were a very good team. Yeah. But what did they weren't doing it to make money. They did it because they cared about the kids and the sport, and they loved the sport. Yeah. Nowadays, you don't find very many youth team coaches who care about the kids and the sport. Yeah. They don't want to give back like what those guys were doing, like my high school coach or my dad and the head coach of my youth team were doing. They were giving back. They were giving their time. They were earning $3 an hour, if that, right? Yeah. And then we had to travel. We had to do all that. Nowadays, it's all about the money and how big can this organization get, and how can we get more kids in. There's also one of my big things these days is, listen, if we hold a tryout for whatever team, whatever age group, and we get 100 kids. Back in the day, it was, well, we got one team and we can only take 18, so the rest of you are cut. See ya, 72 players or
go play rec soccer.
See you later.
Or pickup or whatever.
Or 82 players. See you later.
Yeah.
Now it's, well, hold on a minute. We can get an A team, a B team, a C team, and can we pull another kid or 2 kids from somewhere? We can get 4 teams out of this.
Yeah.
You're like, well, and they're all paying the same amount. It's the A team still $400 compared to the D team still $400, but how? And I think Eric Winalda's spot on with
the pay-to-play stuff.
It's a pay-to-play, and now we've taken it a step further with, okay, you got to go to 2 tournaments every, in the fall and 2 tournaments in the spring, and then you've got to stay at this hotel so that we can benefit, the club can benefit, and we can make more money because we've signed a contract with X hotel or tournament organization.
Yeah. And every club has to have a tournament. It's like we all have to host one, and I get it. Some of it's maybe to fund the club. That's fair. But it's like everyone has to, like, how many, I swear, I'll go out and scout. I'll be like, I'll look at stuff like around the country, like if there's any big tournaments or whatever. And it's like, oh, ECNL is playing their playoffs at the same time as MLS Next. Well, what if I've seen enough regional teams in MLS Next where I want to go see ECNL, but I want to make sure I see other teams from other regions of MLS Next, but the playoffs are the same damn time. And then it's on one side of the country or in Texas, and then one's in North Carolina or South Carolina. I'm like, and it affects everyone, scouts, college coaches. It stretches everyone to the brim. And I just think, like Shuki said, a pyramid where everyone plays in the same league, where you move up and down. It's so much easier. It's just the battle between USYS, ECNL, MLS Next, NPL, whatever other stupid thing we have going on. It's too much. It's way too much. We're classifying things as elite when they're not really elites. We like to throw around these adjectives and verbs of like
elite,
how
premier,
great.
and academy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
just nice, fancy, snazzy
it's
words.
just like,
that's about it.
And you look at it, it's like it's so stretched. If you just put all these kids together and you form quality teams and you played quality competition, we would get to where we would get and produce more players, but everyone has their own idea and no one wants to work together. That's the problem.
Is it watered down? Is American youth soccer watered down with the amount of kids we have playing now compared to what we had playing years ago? And I think obviously now with the sport the way it's grown in the country and in the world and more access to watching it and bigger clubs, whatever, I feel that the level of soccer nowadays is not any better than it was 20 or 25 years ago. I think if you were to take 2 or 3 of those top teams from 20, you take a 16-year-old team from 25 years ago and you transport them to today and you say, all right, you're going to play against the top team of today of U16 players. I think it's the same. I think it's a draw, or the team from 25 years ago wins. Chuck, I'd love your thought. What do you think?
No, I think we're all aware now that I think there's been a study done that we're finally on a decline in participation in youth soccer.
Yeah.
Are we? I
Last
haven't
3
seen
years.
that.
Yeah.
The Alpine study or whatever it was, I was in a U.S. soccer meeting and that came across, and it raised some real red flags for them. Why are numbers decreasing for the first time? And I don't really know. I mean, if we could have hit critical mass here with what's happened in the last 5 years globally, who knows?
Yeah.
I think the tops are still relatively close, as you said. I think we have a lot more good players in the middle now than we did then.
Sure.
Yeah.
But then how we classify rec, premier, select, elite, I don't know. I think they love it convoluted, so no one can ever point a finger or figure out what's really going on.
Yep.
And they can just, some of these organizations are really good at making money.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think you nailed it.
does somebody want to play that 76 Vardar team?
Is Mazanoff on that team?
I mean, you've got the 76
Yeah.
Vardar team,
Yeah.
the 80 Blazers team, the 82 Vardar team. You take those teams and transport them to today,
Yeah.
I don't see them losing I do not see them losing to any team I've seen played in the state. But here's the sad thing: is because nowadays, as I said, we've got full-time coaches, we've got full-time trainers, we've got a lot more stuff right now.
Yeah.
But why would those teams from back then win? Because they're probably I don't know. I just feel like they would.
So for me, so we can talk about the difference of style of play. Obviously, it was a lot different back then.
Yeah.
Competitiveness though is a a lot different. To me, with the current state of what soccer is, and Eric when all this, we'll go to his comment of we have a bunch of good midfielders but no great midfielders, and they're playing east to west and south. I think the fascination of what Pep Guardiola did at Barcelona, and everyone was like, ooh, 1-2 touch, we do this, we do that, and I think, we've had guys, I think like Scott Armour's kind of chimed in a bit, and, I've talked to people about this. I think we as a nation have looked at what Pep has done at Barca, and we have gone to places like Belgium and France, and we have really looked and asked, well, what do you do? We need to do what you do. Well, if you really think about it, and we look at the French national team, what would France be if, let's be honest, if they weren't a melting pot and they didn't get a lot of people from other countries, let's say a lot of African countries, and what would their national team be? They wouldn't win World Cups with that. If all those players that were in that starting 11 actually played for their true nationality, they would not win World Cups. Right. So why are we taking advice from France? Secondly, Belgium has had this great group that's come up, but again, they are a melting pot. They get some people too. It's why aren't we looking at ourselves and saying, these are the players we have athletes. What can we take from other countries that work with us, but we create a system that maybe is good for us and our players, and not have these other countries hover over and be like, are we doing this correctly? Because I feel like that's whatever the pass system was for USSDA they had with the belt, they were like, you had to meet these qualifications. Double pass. And why are we doing this? Why do we need someone else's standards to say that we aren't a good soccer nation?
And it's difficult. All these other countries want to take their lead, but yes. I mean, you can fit the entire UK in the lower peninsula of Michigan.
Yeah.
So and then we're trying to fit something, for intercontinentally. We're huge.
Yeah.
I mean, we were down in Texas for a weekend, and I ran into an old player that I coached, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? And she's like, oh, I drove over to see my sister play. I go, how long was the drive? And she goes, 8 hours. And that was only partway through Texas. Yeah. Our size it's a strength, but it's also a weakness.
Right.
It is.
Of trying to, and how you play in California based on being outside for 12 months versus being in the Midwest where you might only be outside playing for 6 months. Everything's going to be a bit different, and we're trying to solve it with one broad stroke. It's crazy.
And you can't do it. And the part I go back to with the Barcelona stuff, with how kids are developed and everything, are the expectations parents have that a bunch of Xavis and Iniestas are going to be created. It's not. Parents need to look at themselves, and they need to understand that your kid probably hasn't played a lot of pickup soccer. He maybe rolled the ball around on your child's foot when they were 2 or 3 years old, but they weren't outside playing in the streets, playing pickup soccer till mom called you home for dinner. And there are parts of our country where that happens a lot, but they don't understand the soccer IQ part and what it takes to play that way. And they think, well, if my son in the midfield just bumps the ball left and right and plays east to west, well, I deserve to be in an MLS academy. Well, no, because you don't do anything different. And if you want to look at the different, go on ESPN Plus sometimes and look at the FA Youth Cup. You want to see different makers and players and athletes and what they do and what level you need to be. That's the problem. There's this notion that, and we're all still figuring this issue out too, with as soccer grows, as MLS, it gets into year 30 here in the next couple of years. It's very still young in this country, but the things that parents need to look at their child and be like, it's just an average player. You know what I mean? And there's very few players that are elite that I go out and see every weekend that I'm like, that kid needs to go overseas, or that kid's going to be a very good player. there's some kids that go down most academies that get trials, and I'm like, really? Like him? But he's not really athletic. He just plays a certain way. It's the style. It's everything.
I think a lot of it has to do with what
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah.
Nowadays, kids are playing soccer in an organized fashion,
Yeah.
whereas years ago and in these other countries, they're going out and playing soccer for fun.
Exactly.
They're trying things. They're playing soccer every single day.
There are no parents
They're
around.
cutting their teeth and cutting their knees
Yes.
on the playground because that's the only place they can play.
Yes.
And they're playing till dark until their parents call them in. Here, it's, I've got soccer on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then I got a game on Friday. And you know what? I don't feel like on Wednesday and Friday playing soccer, so I'm going to just play video games. In these other countries, they're still playing soccer on those days, and they're trying different things. And they're doing a lot of different things. They got better foot skills. They got better everything because they're playing rather than just organized drills for
But also it's
coaches
like-
who care about wins and losses.
It's like when you in inner cities when like basketball and everything, or just in general. I would have went to Birmingham Groves, and there was a basketball court there once, but they removed it because they were done a little things. They were done some stuff, but every night there were kids playing, and you wanted to stay on the court and play the whole time. In Europe, it's
That's
like when you
soccer.
have the small field, when you have the small, street soccer fields. It's like we're gonna play king in the court. Like, how long can we stay in here and be competitive? And you don't get that. And then you can't use parks around here because they need to keep them. The club teams need to, you got to pay to use them.
Half of them are locked up now anyway.
Exactly. You can maybe get on a high school field if it's open and you jump the fence, or maybe there's a field next to it you can maybe get into, but you really can't, everything you need to pay for to use. And that's the issue too, is there's nowhere to really play besides in your front yard and your backyard's fine, but if it's not big enough, that's the issue as well.
To Ronaldo's point about there's thousands of good midfielders, well, those thousands of good midfielders only show up when there's cones and bibs.
Exactly.
The great midfielders, or the ones who will be great, are showing up to play when there's not bibs, there's not a coach, and there's not cones, and they organize and they'll police a game on their own.
Yeah.
And there's far too few players like that around.
The funny thing is I've been interviewing a lot of players in the last year, a lot of good youth players who are moving on to good levels in the game. Excuse me, people like Amalia Villarreal, Chloe Ricketts, Keely Titmus.
And you got DeJuan Jones you interviewed,
Jones, who's
come
obviously
through the
made it.
system. Yeah.
But all those players seem to have a common trait that I've found, and it's the love of the game. And not just the love of the game of just, I love it. It's, I want to win. I want to play. And you know what I do when I go home? I do more ball work with myself on a wall, or I jump rope, or I'm running on a treadmill, or you know what? I go out and find my own training. I do a next level training. And then when they don't do it, I take a day off, but I'm watching soccer, or I'm talking soccer, or I'm in my basement for 10 minutes. That is the
It's not
difference.
just playing FIFA. That's not soccer.
And it's funny that that is the type of the competitive spirit.
Yes.
You don't find that in a lot of kids these days. I think it's competitiveness is getting less and less, and we might be delving into the everybody gets a participation trophy, right? We don't want to go into that, but that's probably what happens to a lot of it. I don't really need to try. We're going to get a trophy anyway, so finish second, third, whatever it is. But I am finding, though, a lot of the times these days with the lack of players who are, I would say, players who want to really go out and make a difference in a game. My dad used to have a saying. He says, listen, if you want to be noticed on a field and you got to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. Mm-hmm. Go and win the game.
Yep.
Go and win the game. And if you don't, you can at least come off the field saying you tried your best.
Yeah.
And I don't see that from a lot of kids these days. I see a lot of the kids going, we'll get them next time. And I think Jeff, it comes down to what you were saying earlier. You play a team that's in Kansas City, which is several hours away from here. You play them a couple times, but you don't play the local rival. So if you were to play the local rival several times a year, you'd be like, I am so sick. We've lost 2 games in a row to that team. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to grab the game by the scruff of the neck, and I'm going to go at it, and I'm going to score goals today. But it just doesn't happen anymore, right? Yeah. I think it's things like that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yep. I've yet to see with my own eyes, a player who wants to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and go, give me the ball. We're going to win this game today. Every time you give me the ball, whether I failed the last time you give it to me, you give it to me again. And you keep giving me the ball because I'm the man. You find
kids don't understand how to deal with failure either. I mean, I see a lot of kids that make mistakes, and honestly, sitting on the side with the parents a lot. I mean, I can't tell you how many kids I've seen, like, when they make a mistake, they look to mom and dad and they want to find an answer. Like,
and that was in the Eric Winalda piece, right?
Yeah.
As well, he said kids are afraid to make mistakes these days. And sorry, but soccer is a game of mistakes. It's a chess match.
Every sport is.
Yeah, it's a chess match. Did this move work? Nope. Okay, bring it back. Did this move work? Nope, bring it back. Like, you've got to take chances in the game of soccer, and that's how you're going to succeed. I'm disillusioned with the youth game these days. I think there's a way forward. I do not know how to solve it, but there is a way forward, and I think we will figure it out hopefully soon.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing lacking in the Winalda article is he's pointed out all these problems, and I think we can all agree they're present.
Mm-hmm.
What's the solution? Like, give me one solution or give us one idea.
You're right. You're not wrong.
And that's what needs to be identified.
Yep.
I do think we could go about this all day, and we do sound like a couple of old farts. Like, oh, back in my day, and if I were to take the best team, and I was doing, I get that. For everybody watching, I get it. But there is something to that, right? We're almost doing the conversation of the NBA, right? Today's NBA players wouldn't stand a chance against the players of the 80s and the 90s and the bad boys and Michael Jordan, and I get it. We could go on all day. Yeah. I do want to talk about, to kind of segue into Jeff, you're a former goalie. I don't know if you still play, actually.
No, the leg got cut in half, and I've not done anything since.
Listen, you still coach, obviously. You still do a lot of training with goalkeepers.
Correct.
Tell me the difference today compared to 20, 25 years ago goalkeepers, because the game has become a lot more technical for goalkeepers, and I'd love your, one, on the youth side, how it's changed, and two, on the professional side. We'll talk about Premiership goalies compared to Premiership goalies 25 years ago.
I think there's some good and some bad. I mean, I'm not going to go back and say, hey, back in the 80s it was so much better, because we had plenty of problems with when we look back and reflect on how we trained then. It was all pressure training, and it was beat you up until you were hardened and you could do whatever you wanted in a game. The game's become a little more refined now, and more is asked of us. I mean, we're no longer guys who sit back like when I started. It was just save balls and then punt it, and God forbid anybody ever passed me a ball back the first 20 years I played. It was going to be a throw-in, and that was best case scenario.
Is that what you were taught, though? Like, when by the coach, like, if someone passes you the ball, we're in trouble, so just get it, hoop it away.
No, they were told not to pass me the ball. Like, those guys found a seat next to the coach. Don't pass it back to Shook. Are you kidding me? It literally took me till I was until the rule change in '91 to pay attention to my feet.
Yeah.
Because I could hit a ball a mile, so that's what I did, and then it was a steep learning curve on some of those pass backs.
So what was the rule? I was born in '91, so what was the rule change?
Oh, good Lord!
Sorry.
So that's officially when you couldn't, if you passed it back, couldn't pick it up, right?
Well, for a year or two, you could still do a throw-in back to
yes.
hands. That was
okay.
So they used to, like, if you watched a game in the 70s and 80s, they would pass the defender would pass the goal and you could pick it up.
Oh, okay.
And
That's
it's just
1-0 early.
Okay.
It was kill script.
Oh, okay.
It was a kill script.
And that was the way exactly.
And that's where the header's fine, but
Yeah,
okay.
so it drastically changed, and then in '91, as you said, goalies had to start using their feet because they couldn't pick the ball up. But it still took a long time for it to come about that, we need a goalie who's good with his feet and to be able to connect and change the game for us.
Yeah, and now I think we've gone a little bit overboard.
Yeah.
I think we've paid so much attention to making sure goalkeepers are adept with their feet and how we're going to play through them that we've missed out on them. We see so many more goalkeeping errors in positioning and shot stopping than we would have in the 90s. I thought the 90s were a great generation of goalkeepers, of pure shot stoppers.
Sure.
And now we've got this generation of goalkeepers who are just wonderful with their feet. We were talking about Allison and Ederson and a few others who are they just drop dimes.
Yeah.
We've gotten carried away to youth level of overtraining just the feet and just the side volley that's so in vogue that we've got goalkeepers who can't catch a ball. And then my big pet peeve with the current state of goalkeeping is social media and how people have designed their Instagram or whatever, their TikToks, to showcase all these highlights and incredible moments that are maybe once every 3 games,
Right.
and then forget about, like I said, we're talking about goalkeeping coaches who I really respect in the country, with John Bush being one of them. And he just says meat and potatoes. I mean, your handling and your ability to hold a shot and get your angle right and to get your ball line right. We're missing out on a lot of that, and we're seeing all this, like, get into a low block and a spread for highlights and likes.
Is John's at Pittsburgh now, isn't he?
He went from
He's in
Hibs, Indy to Hibs
Yeah.
to Tampa Bay Rowdies,
Yeah.
and now up to Pittsburgh. We
Yeah.
had him on the podcast right before he went over
Yeah.
to Scotland.
Yeah.
But yet we're forgetting your number one job, which is to make saves.
Yeah.
And that's my take on it. But
One of the things you were talking about before we came on the air was goalkeepers not hanging onto the ball either. Keepers just parrying the ball away or just blocking it, and then you're right. You don't see a lot of goalkeepers who dive and actually hold the ball, or they're just looking to punch the ball away. It's like, well, why didn't you hold that? And everything would have just been okay if you had held it and you would have, released the pressure.
yeah, and I think there's some of that responsibility does lie in the goalkeeping and the goalkeeping sessions to put more stress on holding.
Yeah.
But technology has favored the attacking part of the game.
Yep.
The modern ball moves. I mean, there you watch and it just starts to dip and knuckle, and I'm not talking Jubilani stuff.
Yeah, I was
Just
about to say,
even
let's
some
not go
of
to Jubilani, but
the
geez,
current Nike balls
Yeah.
they're using in the Prem. I mean, those things, if you hit that right, sometimes you're just best off to knock it away.
Just
But
hoping to get a piece
I
of it.
think
Okay.
that's become plan A for too many goalkeepers, just to knock it away and not try to get a hold on it, or just to top it and keep it in front of them.
Yeah. I mean, when I was a keeper, and I played baseball, and I wasn't I was not bad. I wasn't superb, but I just kind of related to baseball. It's like, I need to catch everything. So soccer, hence, I need to catch everything with my hands. And I think that's why I had pretty good hands as a goalkeeper, just from playing baseball and, playing infield, outfield, and everything. But, that's what I miss. I miss seeing in keepers when I evaluate them, is to hold the ball, and then when to catch and punch, and when to go out and grab the floated balls. Because everyone just wants to come out and just take a big swing, and it's tough as a goalkeeper. Like, when you're coming out to get those flighted balls, you just have to, you're going to put your body on the line, you're going to come down, you're going to knock into someone, but you need to have command of your box.
And I think that's going to come along a little bit slower now that they've removed heading at some of the younger ages,
Correct.
which now limits the amount of flighted balls
Yeah.
a
Yes.
goalkeeper sees. So
Yes.
how familiar you are with the flight of a ball and when your timing would be is put off, because no one's serving balls in the box until
Exactly.
U13.
You know what?
Exactly.
That's something I'd never actually thought of, because I've got a son who's 9, plays U10. He won't be heading a ball for another year and a half or whatever it is. I've only ever looked at it from a going forward offensive standpoint. Like, all right, corner kicks. We can't whip a ball in because they can't head a ball. So we got to learn to play with our feet. We got to learn to connect, keep the ball on the ground, learn to cross, learn to get around players, whatever. I've never actually thought about it from the goalkeeper and the defender's point of view, because we're going to have a lack of central defenders who know how to head a ball out, position themselves for a flighted ball, and a goalie who doesn't know, who has never seen a ball whipped in from the sides. The only thing he's ever seen is a long shot. He's never seen balls coming in from the sides. So you're right. That's going to stunt the growth possibly of.
It's just going to slow it down.
It has. It slowed it down with center backs. I'm usually looking
never
for
thought
an
of that.
aggressive center back. How many center backs in the 90s and early 2000s were they all ball winners and winning?
God.
That was the first thing you taught, was the ball's not going to drop. You're going to need to win the ball.
Yeah.
And second balls we're going after in the air as well. And it's a very lost start. And
now you're lucky to have one of your center backs who can do that and balance them with somebody who can track behind with some speed.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
fortunate.
And that's why I think Walker Zimmerman's very valuable. Miles Robinson's very valuable for the U.S. national team. Cameron Carter-Vickers, the guys that can get up there and win the ball in the air are very important.
They're new players who play with an old school feel, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can do a little both.
All right, I got a question for you here. All right, Shooky, you're starting a new team. Your team has now made it to the Premiership. Team Shook. All right, you're in the Premiership. You got to pick a goalkeeper, my friend, from around the world. Unlimited money. Who you picking? You get one goalkeeper. Who you picking?
Do I have to win now, or am I trying to win generationally?
You tell me. I want to know. You can pick that. You pick that. You're the team manager. You can pick anybody in the world, any goalkeeper. Currently, who's playing?
If I have to win right now, I'm still going to stick with my guy, Jan Oblak.
Jan Oblak. Okay.
But I think if you're going to set me up to have to win for the next 10 years, I did like your shout out to Ramsdale, but I'm still not sure. I think anytime you go with the younger guy, you're not sure how he's going to pan out.
Sure.
Maybe it's just the Arsenal
Yeah.
badge going with
There's
Ramsdale,
nothing
but those
wrong
would be
with
my
Ramsdale.
two guys. Win now with Oblak.
Okay.
He's proven to keep teams in games.
Yep.
Especially if the rest of the team around him isn't strong.
That makes sense. My personal would be Ramsdale for both. But all right, so now I'm going to ask you a different variation of that question.
Do I get to answer?
You okay? Go ahead, answer. I didn't think you'd care, but go for it. Pick
He's
one.
picking Chris
Start-
Brady for the future.
Team Shook has hired you as general manager, and you get to pick your goalkeeper. Who are you picking?
Andre Blake, for now.
All right, that's it. You do remember the part where I said your team is in the Premiership, right?
Yes, Andre Blake is good enough to be in the Premiership. It's just unfortunate that no one's picked him up.
I get it. All right, so next piece of that question is Team Shook is now in the Premiership. You get to pick a goalkeeper from any generation, from any. He could be retired, but you get him in his prime. Are you still picking the goalkeepers you picked?
Buffon.
Buffon?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna go a little different, but I like the pick to Buffon. I like that. My goalkeeper of choice, if I get to pick from any generation, this might surprise you, Neville Southall, the former Everton goalkeeper. I think what a player! Just a stud of a player back in the '80s for Everton, in my opinion. And I don't know if you've seen recently how big of a house he is, but for some reason I just have an affinity for him. Yeah.
I had a pair of his gloves back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Yeah.
Or wore his gloves, not had his actual gloves.
But Gigi Buffon is that's.
And then my close second, I think, would be Van de Sar.
Van der Sar was going to be my one.
That's a
He's
good
just,
Oliver Kahn was my two. Just because he's scary.
Okay. If I get a second, I
he's
go.
my third. Not even my first German keeper.
Hey, we're in the same lane at least, or close. Yeah, you know.
My second would be Schmeichel. I just a huge fan. Besides the fact that he played for Man United, but he was a former Villa player as well. That's how I remember him. But no, when his days for Man United, just
amazing.
Yeah. Same with Van der Sar when he played.
Yeah. So awesome. All right, we do have about 10 minutes left. I want to make sure we get to looking at some of the tables, and we got to hit upon some MLS with some big games this past weekend. Why don't we just quickly look at the Bundesliga table? Listen, there was a big game this past weekend, the Der Klassiker. Bayern Munich versus Borussia Dortmund, and Borussia Dortmund came out and forgot there was a game. Oh my God. Oh my word, what were they doing? Borussia Dortmund, you were not prepared. Thomas Tuchel had Bayern Munich ready to go, and they won easily. 4-2, two horrendous errors by Borussia Dortmund's goalkeeper. The first one, he whiffs on the ball, my word. I think that is the end of that right there is the end of the Bundesliga race. Good, congratulations, Bayern Munich. You now win your 12th in a row, and I forget what it is, like 12 out of the last 14 or 13 out of the last 15 or something stupid. And this is why no one respects the Bundesliga, even though, and Shuki, I'd love your thoughts on this, I love the Bundesliga. I think it's a great league. But Bayern Munich just win it every year.
I think it's more of the same every year.
Yeah.
I think teams play very pure there.
Yeah.
They do.
It's not offensive. It's like going to the bar and ordering a safe beer. That's the Bundesliga.
I like that. That's a good analogy.
But you can get a game that's 5-2 one week, and then another game that the next week's 0-0, and you still get entertainment out of it. It's an entertaining league, in my opinion. But you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
You know what you're getting. The problem with the Bundesliga is you get a Bochum versus a Schalke, and you're like, this is the worst game I've ever seen. Do these teams know what they're doing? and then the next game is Stuttgart versus put a Bundesliga team here. And
Like
you're
Union
like, whoa,
Berlin.
holy moly, this is
Yeah.
a great game. I don't know.
It's not consistent.
I think
Yeah.
it is and it isn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Bundesliga in the last 2 years has really grown on me. I never used to watch it, but now it really is. And I think a lot of it is because we're getting a lot of players to the Premiership from it, and a lot of American youth are going over there, making it an interesting game.
Yeah.
I like the Bundesliga. I like
I
it.
thought the German take on soccer, I've always admired the national team, and I've always thought the players have never been superior at things, but they've been very good at a lot of things. And I think that can win you World Cups and can make you a good player and make you a difference maker on another club team.
Sure.
So
Let's take a look at the table again real quick. So obviously Bayern, I think, will run away with it at this point. So congratulations on another Bundesliga title there. Nate's Stuttgart. Oh boy. We may just want to wave goodbye to them. Just so everybody's aware, the bottom two teams drop out. They are relegated. The 16th placed team there, third from bottom, currently Hertha Berlin, go into a playoff. So they play off with the third placed team in the Bundesliga 2. And whoever wins that one game, I think it's a one game. I don't think it's a home and away. I think it's a one game.
I think it's a one game.
I think it's a one game, and the higher level team, which would be Hertha Berlin here, wins and goes up. I really do like that. I think it's an awesome way to do it. The rest of the league, great, and kind of dropping off. We'll see how that pans out. Let's take a quick look at La Liga and Barcelona. Congratulations, you have won La Liga. Real Madrid are still in Champions League. They're going to do very well, but Barcelona have run away with it. There is another El Clasico coming up this Wednesday.
I think so.
It's either this Wednesday or the following Wednesday. So I always love to watch El Clasico, Real Madrid versus Barcelona. You never know what's going to happen. Barcelona have won the last two.
Yeah.
The previous one was unbelievable with a great finish.
Yes.
So yeah, Elche, you're relegated. And then you've got whoever.
It's a shame with Valencia at the bottom there.
Yeah, man.
Because usually they're always in the middle.
They're usually in the middle somewhere, but it's an interesting finish. The most interesting part of La Liga this year will be who gets relegated, because as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams within 2 points of each other. So, yeah. All right, Brooks, I want to put up real quick, I'm going to put up the MLS tables. They're big tables compared to the others because there's a lot more teams, 29 teams, excuse me.
29, yes.
Let's put up the West here. What do we got? We got St. Louis, whose run comes to an end. Whose run comes to an end?
Flipping Minnesota United, the
Yeah,
crybabies.
St. Louis won 5 in a row, setting MLS history. The first expansion team to ever win the first 5 games. They go to the 6th game and lose that to Minnesota United. But, they're still top of the table there. It's awesome to see Seattle get a nice win.
At LA.
LA
Galaxy here, and it's Chris Klein, the GM, and the fans.
What a mess show that is right now, huh?
Yeah, it's just...
The fans are boycotting. They want Chris Klein out.
Yeah.
Rumors are that he could be out soon, but interesting there. So, but good win for Seattle.
Yeah.
LAFC at third there. Colorado.
It's a draw with Colorado,
It's going to be a rough year, and it's kind of expected, right? From all accounts, from everybody I spoke to who's following Colorado, they said this is going to be a rough year.
Yeah.
And they ain't wrong.
Yeah.
3-3.
Yep.
Sporting Kansas City as well, 3-3. Changes coming. And then
not at Sporting Kansas City, unfortunately, but
changes coming.
That's another story.
Because now you got LA Galaxy 0-3-2. Obviously, they're a game behind because their very first game of the year, the El Tráfico has been pushed back. And if we confirm that makeup is July 4th?
Yes.
At the Rose Bowl, right?
Yeah, the one that they missed. Yeah.
Talk about hot.
Yes.
In the middle of July or early July 4th, we're going to be playing at the Rose Bowl.
Yes.
That's going to be
They sold out.
It sold out.
Yeah.
So, 100,000. So that's
so
going to be
why
fun
wouldn't
to watch.
MLS want that? Yeah.
All right, let's put up the East table here if I can.
My Portland Timbers had a good draw against FC Dallas.
Yep.
It only took the guy they finally bought as a designated player to come in and score the goal in stoppage time. But, hey, we got a point there, so that's good.
Point.
Yeah.
And there's Nate's. Well, that's funny. We were at the Bundesliga. Nate's favorite team, Stuttgart's at the bottom of the table there. Nate's favorite MLS team's at the top of the table here.
In the Eastern Conference,
In the Eastern Conference, yeah. 4 wins, 2 draws, no losses. Pat Noonan getting the job done.
Yes.
Man, I'm telling you, he has been. He gave an interesting interview the other day on SiriusXM. I'm sorry, no, it was SiriusXM with Jason Davis.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I like his demeanor.
Him and Chris Albright have just taken a lot of what was successful at Philadelphia, and they've kind of meshed it and changed it a little differently. I mean, Ernst Tanner, is the GM at Philadelphia, and obviously Chris Albright, playing in the league and knowing the landscape of American soccer. But Chris Albright isn't messing around. He first team academy, second team. He wants success in that academy. So, and him and Pat Noonan have done one heck of a job. Yep. In the short time they've been in there. Now, they were kind of shaky the first year, but last year and then this year, they've done things right. Owners are willing to spend money to do it right. Cincinnati is a very good town for soccer. It always has been, from my understanding. There's always been some solid players out of Cincinnati. So they are on an interesting trajectory, and Columbus needs to be very wary of that one, that's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Atlanta United in second there, New England in third. We all expected that because New England is New England, and you knew they were going to come back from a shaky year that they had last year.
They were good. I watched that game, by the way, the New England game. And that result they got against hold on, I'm looking at the scores table here. Against New NYCFC. It was a 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
But they started 2 of their academy guys in the midfield. Noel Buck, who's been rumored to be bought by a few European clubs. I think it's German clubs. And then Penatuyu, who was MLS Next Academy Player of the Year the previous year, I believe. So the Revs are slowly but surely, it was kind of the MLS 1.0, 2.0 teams that were kind of stuck. They weren't spending money. But it's slowly, since getting, the FIFA World Cup in 2026, they're going to have a match there because they talked about, changing maybe Gillette Stadium to grass or whatever for that. But they're slowly building something interesting at the Revs for how many years they were consistently, they struggled. So Bruce Arena's coming to do to change some stuff, but their academy's done really well too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, Philadelphia Union in 8th, 2-1-3, 2 wins, 1 draw, 3 losses. Are they going to turn this around? Is Jim Curtin going to get it back going again here? Because, listen, man, the MLS Coach of the Year last year was having a bit of a rough start to the season.
Yeah, I think, listen, with Philly, like we talked about, you're going to play the young guys. You're going to bring in some of the players. The problem is the depth they have. They really don't have a lot of difference makers at the towards on that bench, and they don't rotate a lot. They don't sub a whole lot of players, and they usually want guys to play 90 minutes, and they may make a sub here or there. So, and that's a club. Again, they don't like to spend a lot of money. They're not throwing around money. They rather put it into the academy players, play the young players, and then sell them on. So, in that 8th position with Philadelphia and kind of their style and their organization, how it's set up, that's to be expected. You may have one really superb year, and then the next year it could go the other direction. So,
well, I do want to ask Mr. Shook over here. Are you a big MLS guy? You
I'm not an anti-MLS guy.
Well,
but,
thank the Lord. I appreciate that.
Got a lot of friends who are coaching within the systems there, and try to stay in touch as much as I can.
Yeah.
But at some point, there's a threshold of at some point I do have a wife and 2 kids I have to see outside of soccer.
That's fair.
So that's the drop off.
Do you have a team you like to watch?
No. If it happens to be on, I don't turn it off.
Okay. Fair enough.
But if I had to have one, it would be just probably Cincinnati because a good friend of mine's their academy coach there.
Okay. There you go. Right.
Highly recommend MLS 360. The people who are watching this are probably so sick of me saying it because I say it every week, but MLS 360 it's like the NFL Red Zone. Whenever there's several games on, and then whenever one looks like they're going to score, something fun's happening, they switch over to and start talking about it. So highly recommend that. All right, guys, we're kind of wrapping up here. I want to make sure we get to this this last piece. If you haven't seen it, I got to do the setup here. I got to do the setup. It's I don't even know if I have it written down. There was I don't even know where it went. Liga Emeki game. Referee, kind of there's a skirmish happening. Referee goes to give a yellow card, puts the yellow card up, player gets in his face, and this is what happens next. Referee just does not appreciate the player getting close
Is that
to his face.
Leon?
I would have
Oh,
to
was
look it
that
up.
Tigres? I'm trying to see the
Tigres
patch.
is the yellow, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the referee. I mean, he's just like, get out of my space, and knees him in the groin. Now, is it the hardest knee to the groin you've ever seen in your life? No. Does he even get his knee up high enough to really catch anything? No, probably not.
Definitely Club America they're playing.
But you still can't do that. That referee is going to be in trouble. He may never referee another game of this nature again. Be interesting to see how the Liga MX comes out with that. And that's probably how we'll finish the show, guys. I needed the groin. Hopefully that's not what you thought of our show tonight. I do want to thank Mr. Shook. Jeff, it's been a pleasure, man. It's good to see you again. I appreciate you watching and commenting a lot of stuff and coming into the show tonight, man.
No, thanks for having me. And anytime you're short, any of your guys here, happy to come in and fill in.
You might be called upon again, right? It's been a joy. Maybe we'll get you back in here once a certain club has lifted a trophy. Fingers crossed. We'll get there. But thank you very much for stepping in. We very much appreciate it. And some of the insight on the goalie stuff and the youth soccer has been amazing. We love that. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
Brooks, dude, as normal, thank you again, man. Appreciate it. I do want to let everybody know that this week is a little different. I got some time on my hands. So every day this week for maybe 30 minutes or so, we're going to go live at noon with Soccer Daily. New little show we're featuring here at We Are Soccer. We're going to go live every day for 30 minutes at noon. We're going to talk soccer. We're going to talk news. We're going to talk games that are coming up for the day. We're going to talk games that happened the previous day. We're going to have a little fun, so join in. For now, thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you this week. But as a group here from We Are Soccer, we'll see you next week.